And I'll repeat that question. Okay. What do you do? What is your name? What do you do? And at what reserve? And on account of silence.
Sue O'Halloran. I'm the Coastal Training Program Coordinator at the Lake Superior National Estuarine Research Reserve.
I'm going to repeat the question.
Oh, good. Okay.
Why do you think collaboration is a good approach for coastal resource management?
I think collaboration is a good approach because it creates a buy-in from the outset. You identify who your group is, what's expected. You kind of get that investment from the beginning, and I think that that allows for a process that you're able to follow through and evaluate at the end. I've been involved in many processes where when you don't get that, it's more of a short-term buy-in, and it just doesn't have the long-term impacts that you get when you get more of the full buy-in up front and you work with this group. They know what they're working towards, and they feel respected, and they're more willing to make that investment.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm speaking from my own. I think you want that. From
And I am going to repeat the question, which is, what has been your professional experience using collaborative processes?
My experience, the best example is working with a county comprehensive planning process, where you do have a regional planner that comes in and walks through the process, but yet there is not much collaboration up front. So that was a piece that we contributed, trying to build collaboration around a couple of specific elements of the plan, natural resource and the land use elements. So we came in and worked specifically with those subgroups, which was nice because it was a smaller portion of the whole group, which was probably our smaller groups were only maybe 7 to 8 people each. So we were able to have much more specific outcomes, and the folks that were involved in this were had a specific interest in that topic rather than the whole county comprehensive plan. So it was kind of a natural place to build that collaboration, to get input from all of these people, make sure that we showed that that input was just as valuable as the science-based input. Interpret, and we actually brought some technology to the table, helped to interpret that in light of their planning, and it was just a respectful discussion, and everybody felt valued, and I believe that we've got some pretty good outcomes from that because of going through that process, which was a 3-year process. And those collaborators also became our, let's see if I can think of the right words, spokespeople to the rest of the group, which those that maybe felt like we might have some ulterior motives outside the group, they were able to go to these collaborators that maybe they felt a little more comfortable with. So all in all, it really got us to where we needed to get, and I think the outcome was good.
So Sue, you're going to describe some of these specific outcomes related to the project. Maybe just quickly reference the project in the first sentence so that in case we just use this clip.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all right, you're good.
Yep.
Just hold still for a sec.
Okay, this, what I'm going to refer to is a specific county level planning that I worked through in Wisconsin, Lake Superior Basin. And it relates back to the collaboration that we had with the smaller subgroups on the land use and natural resource planning elements. There's 9 elements in the plan. These are the 2 that we worked with. So we brought the mapping technology. We had some very current leaf-off land cover maps available. And then within that, we brought the watershed context in. We had all the Huck 6 watersheds digitized, mapped, and brought that to bear on how do you look at the land uses and the natural resources in your county. And we scaled it on these sub-watersheds or Huck 6 watersheds, which most of these participants hadn't really looked at before. So we were able to bring in our expertise slowly, because we had, several years of this process, so we didn't hit them all at once. We built a base of trust, kind of background information, resources, and as we went along, then we got their input on, what do you see here, what's happening in your community, and it was a really good way to, go through this collaborative process, but yet still we were raising their level of technological expertise as well, because they brought that back to their communities and said, we understand a little bit more about how our watersheds work, and so I think they were really happy with that. And the outcome is that we had watersheds referenced in the plan, and protecting and looking more closely at the hydrology of the watersheds, which had really never been talked about before. All right.
Sue, tell us how the use of collaboration has impacted your relationships in the community.
It's impacted my relationships by increasing the level of trust and kind of establishing me as someone to come to for information. The trust was important. You can have all the information in the world, but if they don't trust that, you have their best interests, or that you are interested in seeing some project worked through with them, you're not going to leave them high and dry. They just don't invest in as much. So establishing, the fact that I have this expertise, that I'm interested in helping them utilize and access that expertise to help them with some of their local decision making. Again, that spreads through the community, even from the small group that we worked with through the planning. So that helps a lot to get the word out, and people start using now the reserve as a resource. Even though we're very new, the stage is set, and they know that we are ready and willing to help as much as we can to help them solve their problems relating to specific areas like natural resources, water resources. Stormwater is now coming more into focus, more at the city level. This was a county project, so I guess getting the word out that we do have good information, and we are serious about working with communities. Okay.
Rolling. And I'll repeat the question and count to 3. What have you found challenging about the use of collaborative approaches, and how have you handled it?
Well, I have a couple of challenges that I'll say come to mind right away. One is that it just takes a lot longer for the process, and I don't think that's often built in to a project proposal or a grant or whatever, source of funding you're using to do a project. There's a lot of stage setting, there's a lot of trust building, and you really just have to listen to people. And so the stage setting takes much more time than I ever thought. So that's one, it's the time. And if you're on now with the reserve, time is not such a barrier anymore because, we know we're going to be here. The other challenge, I would say, are those folks that aren't going to buy in no matter what you do, and they're in your group and they're part of this planning process, and no matter what you do to try to engage them, they are going to be arbitrary, dismissive. Okay.
And Sue, you're going to lead off with another challenge
Yes.
to using these approaches.
Okay.
Is on the count.
Another challenge to using the collaborative approach is how you work with the naysayers, the folks that are just arbitrary. Sometimes you think that they're there just to heckle you. And you have to still engage them or try to, and give value to what they're saying, include them. Just because they disagree with you or they have a different point of view, and it's really hard, and I have a really hard time, you still have to value and let them have their input and make them feel like they're part of the process. And often it's 180 degrees from what the science might be saying, so that's where I have a hard time. So I try to provide the resources and the background from where I'm coming from, and let them have their say, and then just pretty much move on. And often it's others in the group that will also kind of step in and help with the process, and help deal with these kind of arbitrary people that you might encounter in your groups. And so in a way it makes the group a little bit more close-knit, just to have to deal with some of these folks. So